Tony Alstat with KBS Building Supply to talk to us about his career. Welcome, Tony.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us your title and what you do, please?
I work for Krofsky Building Supply in Rochester, Minnesota. I am a sales team member, so I am responsible for talking to contractors and bringing new business in.
Okay, that's a great leadway to where we want to go. So as a salesperson, what does an average day look like? What is it that you do from day to day?
Day to day, I come in and check in to see if there's any loads or houses or materials that are short for projects that are currently going. And then after that, I hop in a pickup and I actually go to job site to talk to the builders, the contractors, and some of the subs as well.
Do you also make connections with the homeowners then as a salesperson to make sure everything is to what they need and wanted?
I do not do a lot with them. We do that during the very beginning stages when they do the selection of the home. Their fits and finishes, that's usually the general contractor and the homeowner make those provisions before we get to it. We do have some of the little details like locks and just some color things that we do play with once in a while, but that's about it.
And you describe more people in your office than you. So do you work with a team or are you more independent?
I am part of a two-person team. The person that I work with is Kim Harnack. Her and I have worked together on and off for almost 15 years. She is an excellent estimator, can do a house takeoff in usually a couple, 3 hours. And she's the backbone of the office here.
Yeah, can you tell us about the phases then? You just described the estimation process. So if I'm a homeowner coming in and want to build, take me through that process. Who do I talk to? How does this work? And how does your role fit into that?
A lot of times the homeowner will talk to the first procure of the land, and then they'll order a subcontractor or a general contractor that will work them through the home selection process. That would be the windows, doors, some of those things, and they'll get a preliminary number that the subcontractor or the general contractor will ask us for a number, and then we'll play around with those numbers. And when I say play around with those numbers, we'll change things up and down depending on the customer's price range.
So then we pick out what we want, and then they start building. And
yep, then usually the hole gets dug, and then we get a phone call from the contractor that says, let's next Friday we're going to have a framing crew out there to start framing the foundation. So then we usually start with a cap load, which if it's a basement that's dug, we'll cap that off. Then the next day or a couple days later, we'll ship out first floor walls. If it's a 2-story, then we'll ship out a second story. And then trusses end up coming directly from the truss company right to the job site. We usually don't touch them at all. But Kim does a lot of the coordination of the floor trusses and the roof trusses weeks in advance before the project even starts.
so where does your sales fit into that project? Are you getting the materials to the job site, or what exactly is your role for the sales piece of it there?
The way that KBS works with their sales is that once the material has been loaded on a truck and leaves our yard, we actually invoice it at that point. So we work off of basically accounts. So each of our general contractors has its own account, and then we work charging onto that account for month to month. And usually we have somewhere in the range of 15 to 25 accounts that are doing monthly business with us all year long.
Okay. So would you say KBS is a full service facility for being able to build a house? Because you've talked about the materials and the sales and the trusses.
Yep, I would say full service with the exception of the excavation of the house, landscaping, electrical, and plumbing, and then any of the other low voltage for outdoor lighting, some of that sound systems. We don't do anything in that nature. We do just mostly the skin and bones of a home structure, or shed, or deck, or porch addition as well.
Is it mostly wood materials you're using, or are you with steel and some other aluminum as well?
We do see a large amount of wood. A lot of it is, some of it is steel. Some of it is, a lot of plastics are now starting to come into the wood business, as well as trim pieces. And then you're also seeing cement and pressed or engineered wood is becoming very strong as well. Engineered being like a chipboard, where there's structural studs, things of that nature, for heavier point loads.
So what would you say for the skills that you've identified, excuse me, the jobs that you identified, what skills technical would be needed to work in such a job? Any specific training or things you could think of that would be necessary?
Just a general construction background. Like, my background comes from my father. He built pole sheds since I was 5 or 6 years old. Kim, her father, also was a general contractor for years. Her dad built homes as well. So just the general knowledge of spans of lumber, what they can take, what they cannot take, steel, just some of the general, a lot of the stuff is available just by doing some training online, or hard knocks by being out in the field and learning by our mistakes.
So experience is kind of important for this job, you're saying.
Yes, very much so.
And how did you get started here?
I actually have been in the lumber industry on and off for better part of 20 years. I started at a general box store, a large one, and they said they did a lot of what they called in-home training, and then I also diverted away for almost 10 years to the brick industry, and also spent 10 years there selling commercial brick for commercial projects. But what got me here is being able to work with Kim again, and just the not knowing what you're going to do every day you come to work is a lot of fun. Variety, yep.
Would you say you need education to do a job such as yourself as a salesperson?
Yes, I would go into like a business management, maybe some accounting, and then estimating. I know a lot of the trade schools are going to be the key to the future of the building industry. As things become more and more digital, it'll really help to speed the process up. Like a typical house estimate that we get is still on paper, where I'm starting to see, and Kim and I are starting to see, a lot more digital plans coming to us.
Technology definitely changes many jobs out there.
It does, yes. For the better in most cases.
So computer skills would be important as well to be able to.
Correct.
What about any CAD or any drawing design type classes? Would those be a benefit to take?
They would, yes, especially some of the very early stages of plan reading, and mathematics is going to be another huge factor. I can't say that there's a day that we don't come to work where we don't use math constantly, and that goes into even some very little algebra or window calculations for deck loads, things of that nature.
What would you say a starting salesman would make in an average year? A ballpark.
A very early salesman is going to probably range in the 35 to 40,000 a year, kind of a pay range. Then it's going to, as you get more experienced and as your customer base becomes larger, you're going to see substantial raises in that as you get the years under your belt.
And would you say, especially in the Rochester area, there's much competition for a salesman in the construction industry?
From where I sit right here in my office, there's 7 lumber companies within probably 5 to 10 miles of me. When you get to some of the outlying areas, like some of the further reaching cities, more rural areas, you're not going to see the competition that you see in Rochester. Rochester is a very competitive market, but there's a large demand for house building here as well. At our peak in 2000, I think it was a few years, 2000, before the crash, or 2006, you'd see as many as 500 new homes going up in Rochester in a single year.
Wow.
Yep.
Could you describe the most unique home you've built? Not any specifics about the homeowner, of course, but something that made it really stand out for you?
Yes, that was early on in my life. I worked on a house that had not a single straight wall on it. If you were to read the book Moby Dick, where the inside of the whale, it actually looked like the inside of a whale. It had cedar slats that came down in the inside of the master room, the kitchen, everything was round. It was a very interesting house. I was a mud mixer at the time, working for a stucco guy. Very,
Wow.
very.
What is it that keeps you interested in the construction field and wanting to do that route?
It's the ability to see tangible things. When I say tangible, I mean that you're able to come to work and yesterday there wasn't a roof on this house, now today there is, and the just constant moving forward of supplies and just, lot after lot being filled up with houses that somebody's family is going to live in is fun to see.
I bet. If a high school student were watching this, and that's what it's geared towards, what advice would you give them for looking at their future and maybe looking at a construction career?
Take a lot of the math skills that you can and go into a trade school of some sort to specialize yourself in whatever field you're going after, whether it be building, whether it be brick, whether it be anything in the building industry. As long as we're on this earth, we're going to have homes. So it's a great category to be in. It really is. It's fun daily. There are bad days, but the good days outnumber the bad days by tenfold.
And for a student in high school, we talked about a couple of classes. You really hit on the math. Is there any other classes that you've thought of since we talked earlier that you would like to suggest or recommend for a high school student to take?
Yes, accounting would be one of them, business management, drafting if they offer, workshop, wood shop, and even probably metal shop. Algebra 2, algebra 3, on and for English, and probably one foreign language of some sort, because there's a wide demographic of customer base that you can get involved with. And as the world becomes smaller here, we're getting more and more products from overseas. So to be able to decipher some of those things would be helpful as well.
So what about the English? That one kind of surprised me. The others made sense. Why did you mention English?
Because you're deciphering through all kinds of paperwork, proposals, a lot of paperwork when it comes to the final drafts of things of that nature. And good communication skills are key in being able to communicate with your customer and your contractor and even building inspectors.
So being able to keep those relationships strong.
Correct.
Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate everything you've shared. If someone wants to follow up individually and had questions about the building service or KBS, what would be a way for them to reach out to you personally, Tony?
I have a cell phone, and then I also have an email address. I can forward that to you, or if you'd like me to give it to you now, I can do that as well. A phone number, 507. My cell phone number is 507-923-5324. And I usually carry hours of about 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.